All right, folks, it's district breakdown time. We are now into Division II of 5A, and we're starting at 3-5A Division II, where we have a bunch of teams that aren't used to playing each other in a district together, including Argyle moving up from 4A. Diggsy, what do you think about this? What do you think about this district?
This is a fascinating district at the end of the day. And, we talked about this in 5A Division 1 when we talked about 3 versus 4. I really think it's important in these two districts, what we're going to talk about next week and this week. The 1 and 2 spots are really important because I think that the 1 and 2 spots are pretty much guaranteed victories in the playoffs. And then 3 and 4, they're going to struggle in the playoffs in both districts. So really, you got to get number 1 or number 2 in this district. And I think even though they were in 4A coming up to 5A, I know their motto over there is the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Argyle aims to be that, and I think Argyle has a very fortunate draw coming into 5A, a soft landing, if you will, in this district, because I think that they are probably prohibitive favorites in this district.
All right, so if you have Argyle as the number 1 team, how do you see the rest of these 6 teams filling out the rest of the district? Because we got to have somebody in a coveted 2 spot that you were talking about.
Very coveted 2 spot, and I think that 2 spot's going to have a lot of parity. I think if we look at the district at the end of the year, I think I could make reasonable arguments if I put on my hat for each team of 5 of the last 6 teams having a shot for the 2 spot. I think it's a very fluid ranking system. I'm going to put number 2, I'm going to put Frisco Independence. They got a new coach, and that worries me a little bit, but I think of all of these teams, Frisco Independence a couple years ago have the best pedigree. I know Nick Stokes, the new coach for Frisco Independence, has learned from Coach Story, so I think they have the best up-end potential. They have a really good running back over there, Uday Inyuribi. He's getting all of the looks from all of them, from multiple colleges like Army, Navy, Air Force, gotten some offers. This is a difference maker in a district that I don't think has a ton of doesn't have a ton of difference makers, and I think they have a really good chance. Keith Rockwell, they have a really good linebacker coming back. Frisco Independence on pedigree, I've got them number 2. Frisco Memorial, I think they have a lot to prove. Remember last year they beat Salina and then kind of tanked off after that. Frisco Memorial, I've got them at number 3. I think Frisco Memorial is a fascinating team. I could easily see them moving up to the number 2 spot. They got some really good players, Farron Cotton, Spencer Braylon, both good wide receivers. But my question for Memorial is who's going to throw them the ball? They got some big questions at quarterback. Drew Birkenstock, really good safety for Frisco Memorial. But I think Frisco Independence can pound it down people's throats and use their big size to get that to be a little bit more advantageous. But Ward, I think you're going to like my number 4 pick because I have a little bit of a sleeper for my number 4 pick.
Oh, boy. Now, am I supposed to guess on this one? Because
guess who you think my number 4 is going to be.
I'm wearing Georgetown for my guy, Kendall Miller, who's a huge Georgetown fan. He's at Frisco Emerson. And you're just crazy enough to have them as the 4th team. So is that who we're looking at or no?
I love Coach Miller. Big fan over when he was at Lakeview Centennial. He's been kind of off the map for the last 2 years, but kind of like what we talked about with Lake Belton in our 5A look, 4-5A Division 1 look. They ran a Renegade schedule last year, and they were very good in their Renegade schedule as well. They got wide receiver Kylan Evans, who's getting a lot of D1 looks, but I just can't take them number 4 because I think there's a better number 4 in a team that is loaded for bear. I'm taking your Denton Broncos as my number 4 pick. They are loaded offensively. They got Coco Brown. I mean, he's a stud coming back at running back. They got a great quarterback, Lawson Floyd. And when you look at every other Denton ISD school, you got to think Denton is due for a good run. I think in this district, Denton is going to be our number 4 team.
That is true. It was like, 4 or 5 years ago, they had a couple of good playoff runs when Coach Atkinson was there. So they are probably due. That leaves us with Creekview and Lake Dallas. What are your thoughts on those 2 teams?
Yeah, Creekview is a team that I think has a limited window. I talked about, I think, 5 spots. I can see Frisco Emerson getting up to number 2 if they have a good year. I can't see Creekview. I think Creekview will be 7 or 6. I think they have a much more limited window. They were the beneficiary of a really good district, but they had a lot of seniors graduate from a team that wasn't really good when they played good teams. So I think Creekview is going to fall a little bit back. I just don't think they have the talent or depth. They do have a couple of players coming back in Blaine Harrell and Tim Jackson. Their defensive line is going to be pretty good. Offensively, they got to replace a lot. I mean, Isaiah Evans was a stud last year. Scored, they had that game where they scored 10. They had a guy score 10 touchdowns in a game. I mean, they had some shootouts. I just don't think they have it this year. But Ward, I think we would be remiss if we don't talk a little bit about Argyle, because Argyle coming up, and I know you talked to Coach Rogers already. One thing I really like about Argyle is how they really infuse two-way players throughout their program. And I think one of the big questions we're going to have as we kind of analyze Argyle and how they're going to transition up to 5A Division II, will the two-way players work? And we see Denton Ryan, succeed wildly with the two-way players. But Argyle, their quarterback, Jacob Robinson, I covered the game against Stephenville last year where he threw a touchdown and got an interception in the same game. So he's got quarterback experience, and I think he'll step right in there. How much are they going to play him at safety? They got a new safety, Devin Owen, who is making the rounds right now in the recruiting rounds. People are talking very highly about him. Then you got Riley Van Popple. You gotta love the name Van Popple. It's synonymous with greatness in the DFW area. He could play both sides of the ball, offensive, defensive line. You got Michael Madry, who's coming back, who was Defensive Player of the Year last year. Dax Horney coming back in. I mean, they got a lot of players who can go both sides of the ball. You might see Dax playing receiver, running back. Will it work with the depth? And I think in this district it will work, but the playoffs is where I start to wonder, will it work against a team like Grapevine and Colleyville Heritage? But I think Argyle, just the way things are set up for them, if they can get in that number 1 spot, which I think they can, I think they can go 3-4 deep in this new alignment.
That's true. They'd have to get through probably a Fort Worth ISD team, and then go out west and see what they can do in El Paso or Abilene. So you're right about that. And just to recap, you've said it all. Why don't you run them down go ahead and run them down 1 through 7.
Yeah, I got Argyle number 1. Like I said, I'm very excited about Argyle, and I'm looking forward to see how they compete against the 5A talent. Frisco Independence 2, Frisco Memorial 3. Denton is my sleeper team. I've got them number 4. Lake Dallas, I've got number 5. Frisco Emerson 6 and Creekview 7. But again, I think 2 to 6 all could be competitive for that 2 spot. We just don't know we don't know about Frisco Emerson and how they're going to compete against varsity level competition week in and week out. But I could see Frisco Emerson, with the pedigree of the coaches and the players, getting up to that number 2 spot. But I got to see it before I believe it.
I got you. And unlike our Division I teams, they'll at least have 4 games to in the non-district to get to see what they have and what they can bring to district play. So that'll be good as well. All right, my man, we will talk next week about the teams we just mentioned a little bit, Heritage, Grapevine, and a bunch of Fort Worth ISD teams in 4-5A Division II.
I got some hot sports opinions about the Fort Worth ISD district, so tune in next week and you can hear all about them.
Brother, you got hot sports opinions on just about everything. That's why you're my guy on this joint. We will talk to you next week, sir.
We'll see you next week, Ward.